Samsung and Apple have always been known for producing smartphones with top-notch camera tech, and the two latest offerings from these two tech giants is no exception. If you're considering getting either of these two phones, and camera performance is high on your checklist, then this is the video for you. We're going to take a look at both of the dual lens camera systems on offer here, and hopefully help you decide which one best suits you. The iPhone X is working with dual 12 megapixel rear cameras. The main sensor has a 28mm full frame equivalent view with f1.8 brightness, and the secondary is a 52mm equivalent with f2.4 brightness, optical image stabilization and 2x optical zoom. The iPhone X can shoot 4K resolution at 24, 30 and 60 frames per second. It can also shoot in 1080p at up to 240 frames per second. The front camera has a 7MP sensor and an f2.2 lens with 1080p video up to 30 frames per second. On the Samsung, we also have dual 12MP sensors, and with very similar fields of view to the iPhone X. The main difference being here that the wide-angle lens has a switchable aperture going from f1.5, which is the widest aperture on any smartphone, down to f2.4, which can give extra sharpness to bright scenes. The secondary 12MP sensor on the S9 Plus has a 2x optical zoom as well as optical image stabilization. The camera on the front of the S9 Plus is an 8MP sensor with an f1.7 lens and 1440p video resolution at 30 frames per second. As you can see from the samples, both of these smartphones produce very high quality images. But the S9 Plus definitely has the edge, which is not surprising really considering it's a newer phone and has more advanced camera tech. Having the ability to switch the aperture depending on the type of scene gives the S9 Plus a distinct advantage. When the aperture is at its widest at f1.5, this not only gives the S9 Plus an advantage in low light, but also creates more background blur. Shooting at f1.5 means that less of the scene is actually in focus, which is great for portrait shots. But for landscape shots, having the ability to stop down to f2.4 gives the S9 Plus a massive advantage. At f2.4, much more of the scene is in focus, and sharpness levels are greatly increased. A slower shutter speed is needed too, which in theory means less processing needs to take place to give you a good image. The S9 Plus's colours pop more than the iPhone X's, and that is also thanks in part to the dual aperture. It may seem like a small thing, but it really does make a big difference to both photos and video. Slow motion on both of these devices is shot at different frame rates and resolutions. The iPhone X can manage Full HD at 240 frames per second, while the S9 Plus has no slow motion at 1080p, but will shoot an incredible 960 frames per second at 720p, but only for a short time. It really is a neat party trick for the S9 Plus, but the slow motion video on the iPhone X is far more usable, with the longer recording time, and is much higher quality too. So I think we'll call it a draw there. At the end of the day, the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus shows better camera performance than the iPhone X. But the iPhone X is no slouch, and produces very acceptable results all round. We have over 23 years of award-winning customer service, so whichever one of these phones you choose, you can find it at Direct Mobiles.